Welcome to Prepared for Parenthood, the podcast for hopeful, expectant, and new parents with little ones up to age 5. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Dueger, a psychotherapist, author, educator, parent coach, and married mother of 2. On this show, we'll discuss everything from the most up-to-date practicals of best supporting your young children, to thriving in relationship as a family, to more surprising topics around the psychology and development of babies from conception through age 5. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Welcome back to Prepared for Parenthood. Our guest today is Esther Bertram, the Chief Marketing Officer at Mini Maestros, a company in the Melbourne, Australia area that nurtures young minds through musical learning. As a professional singer and songwriter, Esther brings both a unique understanding of the powerful role music plays in the brain development of young children and her deep passion for early childhood education into her work at Mini Maestros. Welcome, Esther. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's wonderful to be here.
Could you share a little bit about what Mini Maestros is and what kind of programs you have there?
Yeah, sure. So it's Australia's longest running provider for music education for 0 to 5s. Started about 40 years ago in a little living room in Carlton. And it's developed a lot since then through early childhood experts developing the program. And we have sequential lessons for babies, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So there's 5 years, 5-year program. It runs like school does with the term times. It's developmentally appropriate, and it involves the whole spectrum of things from singing, dancing, instruments. There's even interactive play for the outcome of developing the whole child. So it's not just about creating musical prodigies. It's nothing to do with that, really. It's really about harnessing this crucial time of life when the brain is at its maximum neuroplasticity, and to form neural pathways that will then serve to help the children for their whole life. So it's really about letting the children have fun, what feels so naturally for them at that age, but in the background, their brain is having a fireworks of effects because it's the only activity where almost all areas of the brain are activated at once, and we're forming these new neural pathways that will serve them throughout their life.
And why do you feel like music in particular and making music is so important for children under 5?
This is the thing I could answer for the rest of eternity. I'm very passionate about music. So there's several things. Just looking at the science of it, there's this wonderful author and researcher, Dr. Anita Collins. She's done a lot of research on what's actually happening in the brain. So if we just first look at that and the phonological skills, oral perception, language skills, that's all getting developed right then at that time. So it's crucial that you're doing it so young, because that's when you're at the peak activity of your brain until the age of 5 or 6. So if you're not doing music and you're just doing other activities, of course, it's wonderful to develop motor skills, language skills, social skills, but the science has caught up now. There's research all over the place saying it's the only activity that literally activates, like fireworks effect, your whole brain. So that's a good enough reason on its own. However, I have a personal theory that when I first started at Mini Maestros, it made sense to me because I used to teach guitar and I've been a musician my whole life. And when I first started at Mini Maestros, I thought, why so young? They're too small to do anything. I used to teach from 6 up when they had enough skills to pick up a guitar. And when I got there, I was so amazed at especially the babies' classes. So babies that are not yet talking, they're not yet walking, they literally can sit there in front of their mums or dads or grandparents or nannies and just look and listen. But a lot of them start rocking. And I was thinking, This is fascinating. And then it made me think more about their first experience of reality ever was inside mum, hearing that heartbeat. And that is music in its purest form. It's rhythm, this constant, lovely first feel of what is safe to them, where they felt secure. That was their first experience, actually, of what it is to be a little human. So when they pop out and come into this world of stimulation and overstimulation everywhere, but then you're in a class where you're having these lullabies or lovely rhythms, and then their bodies just naturally start rocking. I realized, separate to all of the science, just witnessing these babies, you could see just how important it was to close that bridge from the mum's heart to this big wide world that they're going to have to face for the rest of their lives. For me, keeping that music bridge as short as possible is really important, just to make them feel safe and secure and what they're used to, and let them build from that safety confidence with their skills and develop from there.
I imagine that that's also why we do things like sing to our babies, and that helps regulate their nervous system
Absolutely.
as they're getting used to being out in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that natural feeling of lullabies and rocking is just innate inside us, I think. Yeah.
I'm guessing some listeners out there might be thinking, I can't sing, I don't play an instrument, I'm not musical. What would you say to those parents or nannies or whomever who might be a little hesitant about taking a class based on music?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this is a very common situation. And the fact is, from the baby's perspective, from the child's perspective, their favorite sound in the world is the voice of their parents. That is, it doesn't matter if you can sing in tune. It doesn't matter if you have absolutely no musical skill. That is what they love to hear the most. It's more about the enthusiasm you show and not about any kind of skills. And the beauty of going to a structured music program is you're given the framework to work upon yourself, and you don't have to have any skills whatsoever. So even if you are at home, you can make up songs yourself that have just a random tune that you've just made up. So you don't have to have any structured tuning, because that voice and that energy, the enthusiasm you're showing your child, matters far more than any skill.
So I imagine for people who come to classes in person in Australia, there's the social piece. It sounds like there's the movement piece. There's obviously the musical listening and singing piece. What about for people who are outside of Australia? What kind of offerings do you have for them, and what do those classes look like?
We have an on-demand lessons program ever since the pandemic, and we've built it into the whole 5 years, all online now. And although you don't have the social element, you still have the outcomes of what happens in the children's brain, which will help them in school readiness and being able to socialize, because you're getting higher executive function by actually doing music. And there's many benefits of the online program. So it's much more affordable. You can pay in smaller amounts. You can do it with your whole family. Like, often the classrooms are quite small. People bring their prams, and you can't really have a family living room event. And you can do it in your pajamas. Like in the pandemic, you can just literally jump out of bed and say, let's do Mini Maestros together. And you can make your own structure. You have that flexibility. That's now accessible worldwide with all the exact same learning outcomes and all the expertise we've developed.
What are some things that parents or caregivers could do to help support their children's not just musical development, but whole brain development if they're not in a class?
I'm very passionate about music. I would say introducing more music and activities at home yourself, not in the class necessarily. So you can turn an everyday activity into a song. For example, bath time. This is the way we wash our face, wash our face, wash our face. This is the way we wash our face on an early Sunday morning. Or hair, let's brush hair. This is the way we brush our hair, brush our hair. You could literally make up a song for any situation. Another one is when you want to inspire your children to pack away things and clean up. You can make a pack-away song that works really well in our classes because then you're gamifying it. You're turning it into something that's fun. So that's one thing, to just making everyday activities into a song. And that's already going to activate all of that whole brain development just because they're actively participating in singing music, developing the language. You can build instruments at home. You don't have to buy them. So if you clean out a plastic bottle and put rice in it, you can turn it into a shaker and make a playlist of really upbeat songs, or even a playlist of lullaby. If you want to help emotionally regulate your little one, they might be a bit hyperactive or too much energy, and you can tell they need to just calm down a bit. You have a playlist ready that is familiar to them, and they know when that comes on, oh, it's a Zen time and I can just chill out here. You can even do some activities with them in that. For example, we often have ribbons and scarves. So if you're doing really gentle music, you can do some flowing movements with the scarf. When that music comes on through the body, you're physically releasing that hyperactivity and that up energy. Doing those kind of things, learning through the body, making up songs, building your own instruments, all of those will definitely create the neural pathways, but they also create new habits and new triggers for certain emotional outcomes. So if they're feeling really sleepy in the morning and you need them to get up because you've got a big day ahead, having your energizing playlist on, then they'll be, oh yeah, this is the dance one. Let's get up and get their body into the music, use it as a gateway into where they need to go.
So along those same lines, for children who are more sensitive to sensory input, what might you suggest in terms of bringing music into their lives?
That's a perfect example for soothing. A lot of children with special needs really benefit even more with music, especially children who find it hard to express the big emotions they're feeling and the sensitivities. Any kind of music is great for them because it accommodates the overspill of what's going on inside. It's an outlet. I remember I was teaching 10 years ago, a little boy. He used to feel he wasn't diagnosed with anything. His mother actually came to ask me for advice, and I said, these are some things we can do in class to help. But he used to feel very overwhelmed with too much noise, and when the class got really rowdy, he could tell it was stressing him out. And I used to just tell him to put his fingers in his ears just to not be overwhelmed by the noise. And he would settle straight away. But this little boy was absolutely outstanding in his development. I loved working with that child because I could see the impact of music on this person to be able to take these big feelings, big thoughts, and put them somewhere.
So if you had one takeaway for parents of little ones under the age of 5 in terms of music and how it could help their child develop, what might that be?
The one takeaway would be just understanding the neuroplasticity is really at its peak at this age. And if you want to invest in your child's future success, the science is so clear that the best time is under the age of 5 or under the age of 6 to do music.
Thank you so much for being here today, Esther. It's a real pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Prepared for Parenthood podcast today. I hope you found this episode educational, informational, and conversational, and that you'll join me again for another episode soon. If you enjoyed listening to today's podcast, I'd very much appreciate if you would rate, review, and subscribe. If you're interested in more information related to today's podcast, or are looking for parent coaching or courses, you can find my information in the show notes or online at preparedforparenthood.com.